Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Chill Pill Podcast with Uranium, the Black Russian. Welcome to one of our very first few episodes, and thank you for joining us. If you've just joined us, I'd like you to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button right there at the bottom. Like, share, tell a friend. You don't know who needs to hear about good health. Today, I'm joined with Tsitsi. Now, Tsitsi is a specialist researcher. She's going to tell us more about herself and her portfolio, where she works and what she does, and then maybe take it from there. Tsitsi, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Yuri, for having me. I'm delighted to be here. This is my very first podcast, interview, call it what you may, but yeah, I'm so happy to have this opportunity. So my name is Tsitsi Nyamuziwa. I'm a pharmacist, a research pharmacist. I started my career off in the retail sector, moved to the hospital sector, and now I'm in research, and I think I found my calling in research. I don't know about specialist though.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah. Uh-huh.
but we try. So my area of research is HIV. So HIV treatment, HIV prevention. I've worked on a lot of clinical trials in that area, and I'm working on implementation studies as well around HIV treatment and research. So yeah, that's me.
Nice. You know, you're making it sound like a proper job interview. You know, tell us about yourself. Why no, you're getting ham already. Like, oh no, this is where I started. Nah, dude. But anyway, much appreciated for the info. Right, really appreciate it. I'd like to think you're a specialist within your field. Like, I don't think there are a lot of research pharmacists, right, that I know of, at least. Let me put it that way. In that health space, and I think that makes you sort of, you know, a thing or two about what you're doing. I'd like to believe.
I do. yes, I do.
Okay, cool. So you do. Now, I'm going to ask you some really difficult questions today, right? Okay. And basically, it's just me getting to know you. I think there are more probing questions and that we want to sort of tackle, get to know what's happening. Now, you mentioned they're preempted. I know what you do, so that's why I called you up for it. Right, but the listeners out there might not know exactly what you do and what you're into, and well, you've sort of preempted that. Now, you being in that space, right? Why is HIV rates not going down?
Why are the HIV rates
not going down? Yeah, they're going up. You're doing research in HIV, right?
Well, they are going down. They're sort of plateauing at the moment. So I think since HIV was discovered, which is the 80s, there was obviously a steady incline in infections. So it's peaked around about the year 2000s, and then since then it's been going down. But I think the key is it's I mean, if it's 10, it's too many. So right now South Africa is sitting at about 160,000 new infections each year. And for where we are with all the knowledge that we have, that's way too high. So yes, they are going down, but I think it's still too, you know, it's not representative of all the work that's gone into HIV research.
Really?
Yeah.
So 160,000 new infections every year.
Yeah.
Right. Where's my phone? Right. 160,000 new infections every day. What have happened to those crazy numbers? Like, wait, what numbers are that? Like, how many people get infected every minute?
Yeah,
with HIV?
like I mean, you can. I mean, from the amount that gets infected a year, you can sort of calculate it down to like, you know, every month, every week, every day, and of course it's higher in some age groups than others. So your young women, that's the population most at risk. So the numbers are much higher there than in other segments of the population. So it's your 18 to 35-year-olds that will have the most alarming statistics of. You'll probably get like 100 or something. But I mean, don't quote me on this. But yeah, you'll get crazier figures than the rest of the population.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just did the math when you were talking right now, right? It's literally 18.3 new infections every hour.
Yeah.
Snap. That's actually quite a bit, though, eh?
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's better than it was, but it's still too
high.
Too high, yeah.
Okay. So what's the benchmark right now? What are the targets you guys are working at? I'm not necessarily thinking you in this instance, because I'm sure you do research on how best to do it. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And then implementation is now
Yeah.
policy, government,
Yes.
and that sort of thing. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, cool. So, but what are the targets right now in bringing it? Because I'm sure there are goals. I know, like,
Yeah.
you have the WHO 20. I think now it's 2030, and we
Yeah,
always miss them
The
anyway.
95.
Oh, 95,
target.
95. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're working towards now. So I think the goal is to is to reduce transmissions, and then to get everyone who's infected on treatment. So I think for South Africa specifically, the most what's alarming is we have about 8 million people infected.
8 million.
Yeah, but only about 6 million, and I'm quoting very rough figures here.
Yeah.
6 million people are on treatment. So there's that 2 million that, are diagnosed, they know they are HIV positive, but they are not on treatment. So I think for now, as far as the country is concerned, that's the most pressing target. Because if you are not on treatment, so we also have the U equals U campaign that says if you are on treatment, then your viral load is undetectable. Therefore, you cannot transmit it. So if we still have roughly 2 million people who are known to be HIV positive and not on treatment, then that will keep the infection rate going, because these people are going to transmit it to other people. So I think the goal right now is to get everyone who is HIV positive on treatment, so that we slow down transmission, and also for their quality of life as well. It becomes better, because if they're not on treatment, then they are going to get the opportunistic infections, and that's a further burden on the healthcare system. It drives TB. It drives so many things. So I think that's the main goal right now.
Okay. What are we doing wrong?
What are we doing wrong?
Yeah.
There's a lot we're doing right, but there's a lot we're also doing wrong. I think our healthcare system, firstly, it's not up to scratch. I think the way we are delivering healthcare to the population is it really is evident in HIV and in other conditions as well. So South Africa is a very unequal society, where we have, probably 70% of the population depending on the public healthcare system, and then the remaining 20 to 30 odd percent having access to private healthcare. So when you have like these two sectors of the population that have very different access to healthcare, it's sort of, I think we're failing the public as a whole. So the public healthcare system is overburdened.
Okay.
I can tell you now, a lot of patients, would rather sit at home with a disease or not collect their medication, for example, because they have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go queue, and then maybe leave the facility without getting help, or asked to come back the next day. They lose days off from work. If you visit any hospital's casualty or emergency, you know the waiting times there. You hear the horror stories. So I think the way we are delivering healthcare it leaves much to to be said, that we really need to get it right. And how we get it right, I'm not sure for now how we'll get it right, because they've proposed the NHI, National Health Insurance, that we pool all our funds so that everyone gets equal access to healthcare. But there's already battles with that. A lot of people are opposing that legislation as to, are these funds going to be managed properly? How is this going to be implemented? So to get equity in healthcare in South Africa, it's going to take a lot. And I think that's where we are failing. We need to have equal access to healthcare, whether you are in the private sector or you're in the public sector. It needs to the playing ground needs to be evened out. Yeah.
How does Cuba do it? They have a socialistic country, right? They socialistic or communist. I don't know. I don't know what the difference is. I'm not a I'm not a what is it? A politics.
Just know it's the opposite of capitalist.
Exactly, right? What is Cuba doing right? Or countries like Cuba? It's a socialist country, right? Very communist-like ideologies, right? And what are we not doing right? Because this is what I'm looking at it. This is how I'm looking at it. If I look at COVID right now, we managed to eradicate COVID. Well, let me not say eradicate, because I think I got COVID right now.
Yeah, that's why you must stay in that corner.
All right.
But I'm vaccinated.
No, I am vaxxed. That's the thing, right? I think yeah. I don't exactly know what's happening there. But my issue is when we look at it and we come and we say, we within 2-3 years we managed to contain COVID to almost more or less get rid of COVID, right? What are we doing wrong with regards to that? Why is that not the same with HIV? That's sort of going to be my follow-up before we get into the big game and we talk about, ask you some really difficult questions. I gave you a sneak peek, so you might know. But what is it that we're doing wrong? What is it that Cuba's doing right? What is it that your Middle East countries are doing right? Because their HIV infections are very low, right? Ours are high. Right? And it's crazy. I mean, if you're talking about 20 million people, Tsitsi, leaving, that's like a third of the population, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. It's definitely wild. But I think it comes down to a variety of factors. I don't think there's one single thing we can point to and say, they're getting it right and we're getting it wrong because of X. But I think, like you said, socialist countries, I think it comes down to our socio-economic status, our at the very core of our being, and it comes down to our behavioral tendencies as well. So when I look at the countries that you've mentioned, for example, I'm not an expert on their history per se, but I would like to believe that in the way a society is structured, it determines how they can manage diseases like HIV, for example. So a big factor of HIV is the healthcare system, for starters. So a lot of, in a country like South Africa and in many other African countries, Black people were marginalized. Black people were not afforded, the same healthcare as other members of the society. Okay. So as a result, it's not inherent in them to trust the healthcare system. Okay. I mean, something that marginalized you, something that, you had to sort of rely on your own means, to stay healthy, to make it through life. Now, all of a sudden, there comes this disease and you're told, go to this clinic, get tested, get A, B, C, and D. It's not as easy because the background is we've always been marginalized. Our first instinct is not to go to that same healthcare system that marginalized you to ask for help. So number one, you'll have people that are being affected but not presenting to that healthcare system to say, listen, I want to get treated, or I want to get tested, I want to get treated. Health-seeking behavior as Black people does not come naturally in the sense of Western medicine, if I can put it like that. So I think that's one of the factors. In a society where people were not all included, in the way things were run. And you'll see it plays out even in the first world countries, like in America or in England, for example. They will have the lowest HIV statistics, but the HIV statistics, that word,
yeah.
will be highest in the marginalized populations.
Okay,
so
true.
in the migrant workers, in even with COVID, you saw like in New York, there was, COVID was not being well managed. There were people dying in mass in the marginalized populations. So like your migrant workers, those are people that are maybe they can't afford healthcare or they're scared to present to a healthcare facility because of, the immigration status. They feel like, they're already discriminated against. So I think my thoughts anyway is that shows the way that plays out in the society. That shows a lot. It shows up in how diseases are managed. It shows up in healthcare. And healthcare is at the very center of our well-being. And if a section of the population feels like, they are not being catered to, so why now? And then it feeds into all the conspiracy theories about, HIV was man-made.
Yeah.
They created it, to destroy us. Why are we the ones affected by it? But it's our decision-making behavior, and of which you can't fault some of it because it comes from somewhere, right? Yeah.
So, you know what, right? I'm going to be very candid. And this is literally just before we get into the game.
Yeah.
Right? I think you're making excuses for us black people.
Okay.
Right? and you're being nice and that sort of thing. But I feel I'll probably get smack for this, but I feel we are. I'm trying to coin this.
Be politically
correct.
correct. Yes.
Before I get cancelled.
Yes.
That's what they call
You
it.
don't want to get cancelled.
You don't want to get cancelled before I even start off this thing, yeah? Right. We've been passing on the buck far too long. Right? We've been marginalized. Cool. Right. And I'll cite you a very simple example.
Yeah.
If I remember well, you can correct me if I'm wrong. South Korea and Ghana that got their independence more or less at the same time, right? Now, these have been colonized by different colonial parties and whatever. South Korea is on the cusp of being a first world country right now. Ghana is still a third world country. I don't know who came up with the first world and second world countries, but we are as Africans, we're still third world countries, right? Now, I think the difference is 10 years, if I'm not mistaken. Between 8 and 10 years, they got their independence. South Korea probably has one of the very lowest HIV rates. I'm sure, yes, colonialization and things like apartheid, right? Imperialism. I'm sure they're more pronounced in different areas and spheres. But just speaking to our economics, we don't produce or market any car on the African continent, our whole continent, right? Those are some of the things I feel we are lacking. And we make a lot of excuses, and I think we benchmark it on our past, right? But I feel it's more behavior than anything. And I do feel that we've been, what it did to us, we're only probably dealing with it, and things like HIV, right, are literally, those are things that will target the very core, the very fabric of our society because of the way our society is lined up. And when it attacks those crevices, those gaps in between. And those are the gaps that are probably mess it up. But that's just my take. This is not about me. This is your interview. And that's sort of thing. What we want to generally talk about is things like PrEP, right? Because that's what you've been working on. Am I correct?
Yes.
Right. And I think the questions, you had a small glimpse of the questions I sent you, right? I think the questions speak to that. If they don't tell me.
Yeah, no, right? They do.
They do. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking those are the questions that people want to know, right? So the way we're going to structure the game is like this. I've got 42 questions, right? You need to pick a number.
It's a lot of questions.
Yeah, but I don't want you to see. I don't want you to see any number.
Okay.
I don't want you to see it. Then we'll just go to it.
I already know number one.
I know what you know. I know, but I'm going to ask number one. Right? Let me tell you something. Actually, let's start with number one.
Okay.
Right, wait, let me literally go to number one first and make sure. Okay, cool. Yes. You're dealing with PrEP and PEP.
Yes.
PEP and PrEP.
PEP and PrEP.
Yeah, PEP and PrEP. Right. maybe before we start with the game, maybe tell us what is PEP, what is PrEP? And then I'll ask my first question.
Okay.
Which you know, which is number one.
So PrEP is prevention. It's pre-exposure prophylaxis. So prophylaxis means prevention, taking something before you're exposed to it.
Yeah.
So PrEP is something that you take in preparation, like preparation of,
That sounds so wrong right now.
in the event that I'm exposed. If it happens that I'm exposed to HIV, then I'm protected. I've prepared myself. I'm on PrEP. PEP.
Hold on, put a pause there. This just sounds like you're preempting. Dude, in the event.
What am
No,
I
dude.
preempted?
No, dude. This is not
Okay, sorry.
in the event. This
I'm
is like,
sorry.
dude, I'm going out there
Okay,
tonight.
okay.
I am doing it.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
And
okay.
if it happens,
yes.
I'm covered. Is that it?
I'm covered, yes.
Okay.
If it so happens that the person I'm engaging with is infected with HIV, then I'm covered. I'm protected.
But on that note as well, don't you think that the fact that we can't say out the words like coitus, coitus is a very politically correct word right now, right?
Yes.
But the fact that and this is predominantly I've seen because I think I'm black, so I can speak on that. I'm black. I can say I'm African or whatever.
Black.
I'm black, right? But don't you think the fact that we can't say sex
in itself,
just to say the word sex is a problem? Right.
Yeah.
Like right now, I kid you not, you met my mom when you came through, right?
Yes.
I don't think I can say the word sex in front of my mom for the weirdest of things. I can't say that word.
No.
Right? It just feels taboo.
Yes.
But don't you think that in itself
That is a problem.
is a contributory
That
fact?
is the problem.
I'd like to find out how people in the Middle East, right? Because they've got some of the lowest.
Yes.
They've got some of the lowest.
How are they doing
How are
it?
they doing it?
You're onto something. Maybe
Right.
that's, we need to be, benchmarking from there.
Yeah, maybe that's something. And speaking on that as well, I know a buddy of mine, not actually, but a few buddies of mine who studied in Cuba.
Yeah.
Right, who studied in Cuba. Those guys are promiscuous, apparently. Right?
What, the Cubans?
The Cubans are promiscuous,
Okay.
apparently. Dude, people are doing the things
The most.
in public areas. The level of profanity and promiscuity, they're not a conservative society. Apparently, that's like their pastime. But this is what I'm being told by people, right?
Yeah.
But yet they still have very low rates. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Sorry, I
No,
got you.
my
That was very
thoughts
rude
on
of me.
that.
You got your thoughts there. You can
Yeah.
jump on with your thoughts. But what I wanted to find out, and like I'm sorry, I was very rude, as a host with the most. Right. I caught you when you were talking about PrEP. So PrEP is prevention before.
Prevention before you get exposed.
Yeah.
And then PEP is post-exposure prophylaxis. So PEP is an emergency situation. You've been exposed to the virus, whether through your occupation or through sex, let's say it, or you've had sex, and you are not sure, or you are not protected, and now you think you may have, there's a possibility you'll be infected. So you take PEP to stop, to prevent the infection. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Look, we won't get into the game until we just get into it now.
Yeah.
Right? The first question, which is number one, which you do want to answer, which you know. Okay. Do condoms work?
Do condoms work?
Yes.
Of course condoms work. It's just a matter of, do people want to use them or not? So condoms work. Condoms are your first prize.
Yeah.
Because
First prize.
yes, because they
We're
protect
giving out prizes here. On the Chill Pill podcast, we're giving out prizes.
Yeah, no, definitely.
You must subscribe. Right? If you want a PEP free subscription service for a year.
PrEP free. Condoms will protect you against a host of things. So they will protect you from falling pregnant. They'll protect you from getting STDs, sexually transmitted infections. That includes HIV. So HIV is also a sexually transmitted infection. So everything sexually transmitted, condoms will protect you from, essentially.
Okay, keep going.
So the difference with PrEP and maybe other methods of HIV prevention is they'll only protect you from HIV. So
Okay.
you're not covered from other infections that you might get
From there.
from having sex, yes.
Okay. You know what? I'm a very candid person. I believe in
Yes.
black and white.
Yeah.
I believe you gave me the answer that everyone else is going to give me. Which is, yeah, condoms work. That's what we've been told ever
But
since
I
we were
said if
kids.
they'll use them.
If they use them.
If you use them,
totally
they work.
agree. Maybe my question should be, have condoms worked in the prevention of HIV? Maybe if I coined it like that, how would your answer be? That's first and foremost.
Yeah.
Right? And the second thing is, and I'm going to bring this a little closer to home, would condoms be something you would tell your child about?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
You have to, like in this day and age, you have to. So I think condoms, they have not worked as well as they should have. And I mean, we can't.
And just answer why there as well.
We can't, yeah, we can't put a blanket approach and say no one uses condoms. Yes, some people do use condoms,
Okay.
but not everyone is using condoms, evidently,
Yeah.
for various reasons.
Which are?
It-
but keep going.
So I mean, and I guess a lot of behavioral research has gone into this and can go into this, but the overwhelming response is, majority of people prefer not to use condoms, which is why we have to come up with alternative methods of protection, protecting against HIV, for example. Coming up with PrEP, which is so HIV prevention is a very broad term that encompasses everything that that is there, that is available to protect from getting HIV. So if someone is not using a condom, then the alternative is to use PrEP. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, besides PrEP, what else is there? But
Abstinence,
ABCs,
ABC.
ABCs, be faithful, abstinence, yes. So that's your basket of HIV prevention. But
Has that worked?
yeah, we unfortunately, if we could get everyone to use condoms, then that would be first prize. But we can't, and that's the nature of being a human, I guess. Not one size fits all.
Pun intended. Pun intended. Hold on. I'm not feeling too long. Excuse me. Yeah, not one size fits all, right?
Yeah.
So this is my take.
Yeah.
Right. This is not an interview. It's a conversation we're having amongst healthcare professionals. Condoms have not worked. Right? And I think it speaks to what you spoke on earlier. How our society has been coined and how things have been basically in our society. Putting it simply. How we've been raised. I think there are a lot of we'll talk about it. But I don't think condoms work. I'm just going to be frank. And this is now from speaking with the boys and with my mates and that sort of thing. Whether the government or people or society was to admit this is how it normally goes.
Yeah.
And this is funny. This is also from a conversation I had. Did I have this conversation with my dad?
I'm very scared right now.
Don't be scared. I think it's a conversation I had with my dad at some point in time. I'm not too sure. I forgot.
Okay.
Right. But people will use condoms the first and second time and third time. When you start being sexually active with someone, this is the conversation that I had, or the conversation I have with my mates, right? They then tell you that when you get used to someone, you get comfortable around someone, then you're sort of like, this is my person. This can be, right? And eventually you get to a situation where you're like, nah, man, this one can't be sick, this one. And you're like, nah, it's only her. And then she looks healthy, she is healthy.
She looks healthy.
And in the context of a man, because this is not gender specific, right? Right. women would say, "No, man, he's a decent guy, man. He's a proper guy." And then eventually, under the
Stop using
exactly, you stop. And then this is before we've done all that. This is what I believe. Condoms don't work. Condoms have not worked. And I'm not talking about, they can prevent, but the reality is the mindset people have is not inclined to that. You understand? So we need to accept that.
Yeah.
What I think we should have done, we should be doing, and this is what I think we should have led with, would be things like diagnostic testing, like rapid tests, right? Those are things that are supposed to be given free to the public.
Yeah.
That way, we move away from condoms, and I think this is intertwined with the stigma around it.
Yeah.
Right. I think the stigma is actually what was the core foundation. This is just my opinion, by the way, not fact. Right. It was the core of the mess, right? Where we stigmatized HIV, and as a result, because we stigmatized HIV, no one wants to disclose their status.
Yeah.
No one wants to know.
Yeah, no one wants to get tested.
No one wants to get tested. Yeah, it's always a hustle when people go and get tested. They're nervous.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same with COVID. When you look at COVID and that sort of thing, you can say, I got COVID.
Yeah.
Right. And like, oh no, he got COVID. Yeah, but stay away. I don't think there was that much stigmatization, except that, dude, just don't give me what you got.
Yeah.
Right. So that's just how I felt. That's how I feel about it. And I think we could have done a better job with regards to that. And if we can desensitize, right, and remove the stigma, I think what should be at the forefront of HIV would be things like PrEP and PEP.
Yeah.
Right. And I also feel that test kits, right?
Yeah.
Condoms should be tertiary and whatever. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So we're just sharing thoughts now. Right. But now.
I completely agree.
You completely agree?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Just my thoughts. Right. But now we can go into the game. Choose a number, 1 to 42. And you can also
I hope I will not regret this. Okay.
cool.
21.
21, halfway through. I think you're going to regret this.
Oh,
I think you memorized.
No,
right? Because
I
this one
didn't.
really speaks to you.
I don't
right?
have a photographic memory. I wish I had.
Wow. Right. This one speaks to you. Okay, cool. What research is needed to further advance pharmacy-centered HIV service delivery? What research is needed to further advance pharmacy-centered HIV service delivery?
A lot of research. Gosh.
Around what?
So I think as pharmacists, we get overlooked, like in the cascade of healthcare professionals.
Okay. Why?
A lot of, a variety of reasons. Maybe as a profession as a whole, we don't speak up enough.
Okay.
Therefore, we don't get recognized.
Yeah.
So other health professionals and society as well don't really see the value that we bring. Not saying that we don't bring value, we do, but it's not always evident.
What value?
Yeah, to what value we bring. I mean, even when there's like presentations on different interventions, or we're speaking about healthcare, they'll always say doctors and nurses, and they'll never say doctors, pharmacists, nurses, or whichever way around you would want it. But we often get overlooked in the healthcare space. But I feel of late, because they've sort of tried everything and it's failed.
Nothing even comes to you
now.
now.
It's like, there's pharmacies, and people go to pharmacies. So there's something there. Like if people are going to pharmacies, maybe that's a good opportunity to catch them, and give them, provide services to them. Okay. So research in pharmacy right now is it's really just exploring at this stage.
Okay.
What pharmacies are capable of doing. So I think we just have to be careful. We run the risk of throwing everything at pharmacies. Yeah. But I think there's a lot that can be said about what pharmacies can do. Okay. A lot of So as pharmacists and pharmacies, we deliver a lot of primary health care.
Okay.
So it's the first point of contact. People don't have easy access to a GP, for example.
Okay.
So before it's a Saturday afternoon, something happens, you're at home, you can't walk into a GP's office. You have to make an appointment. You have to wait until Monday. What's the first thing you're gonna do? You're gonna walk into a pharmacy and ask for advice. So already that is what's the word? The English fails me,
Bundles.
That is low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Because whatever issues people are presenting to, and I've worked in pharmacies, on weekends you get people coming asking for PEP.
Yeah.
That's where all the incidents happen, right?
actually.
Oh my
Very
gosh,
true,
last night this
Weekend.
happened. And as a pharmacist, you're sort of limited in what you can do for them, because obviously then they need a doctor's prescription. So you sort of have to counsel them and saying, and it sort of feels like you're doing them a disservice, because you're telling them everything that potentially could have gone wrong, but you can't help them. Okay, so you could have contracted HIV, but I can't give you the drug. So what you need to go do is you need to go find a doctor that can give you a prescription and then come back to me and I'll give you the medication. How much time have you lost in that? By the time that person sees a doctor, maybe it's the following day. That's already 24 hours in which you could have helped that person. Yeah. So I think most of the research that's going into it is how can we, people that are presenting with these sort of cases, how can they be helped in pharmacies? Of course, sticking to the regulations, the current legislation that we have, such that we don't lose people. Yeah. Because remember that 2 million people that I said is not on treatment? Yeah. Like, the minute you have to refer someone to another healthcare professional, the chances of them slipping into the cracks are very high. So the minute you've engaged them and you have their attention, treat them for what they need to be treated for there and there. So I think that's the idea around the research in pharmacies at the moment. What can we address with regards to HIV that can be managed in a pharmacy?
Okay, isn't that where PMART comes into the fray?
Yes.
Isn't that where PCDT comes into the fray?
Yeah.
And then I want us to track back a bit. You're talking about 2 million people are not on therapy.
Yes.
How many people are on therapy?
About 6, close to 6.
But we're saying that 20 million people have got HIV.
No, so in South Africa it's 8.
It's 8 million.
Yeah, it's 8 million.
It's 8 million people on HIV.
Yeah.
I mean,
who have HIV.
So not 20 million.
No.
So what are the stats? Weren't the stats 1 in 4?
I think 20 is probably sub-Saharan Africa. I've forgotten the region. But like UNAIDS puts us into regions. Okay. So I think the bulk of the infections are in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, of which South Africa is. It's
got the largest. South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Right. Isn't that a curse?
Yeah.
Anyway, but now, so 2 million people are not on therapy and 6 million people on therapy.
Very rough stats.
Very rough stats. Okay, cool. No, I will get to that.
Yeah.
When we talk about research, isn't that what things like PMART have spoken to? I don't know if people know what PMART is. I think Pharmacist initiated. Yeah. Pharmacist initiated.
Okay, so let me help you there.
Okay,
PMART is Pharmacist Initiated Management of Antiretroviral Therapy.
Yeah,
there we go.
I bet you came up with that acronym. I couldn't. You're like, what's the best way to... Pharmacists are not relevant right now. Let's make them relevant. PMART.
Yeah.
PMART. Yeah.
So PMART was an initiative. There goes that English again. Yeah. An initiative of the South African Pharmacy Council, realizing that gap, that we have access to, a bulk of the population, and we should be able to help people within our scope, of course. So it's a course that was designed for pharmacists to be able to initiate people on, once they're HIV positive, to initiate them on treatment, and as well as prescribe PrEP and PEP in a pharmacy. So the challenge with PMART is it's forgotten how many modules it is.
I think it's 42, if I'm not mistaken. When I was doing my research.
Yeah. So it gives you the basics of HIV, management, and then the course is accredited with the Pharmacy Council. And then once that happens, then you should get a permit from the Department of Health called a Section 2215A permit that authorizes you to prescribe treatment.
Okay.
But unfortunately, there's a court case.
But wasn't that finished though?
No, it's not finished.
No lie.
Unfortunately, no. So there was a ruling. So there's a group of doctors that opposed the course and the permits. And judgment was handed out, I think, in July in favor of the South African Pharmacy Council. But they have now appealed.
Okay.
And they've been granted right to appeal.
Yeah.
So that then has to play out now, of course.
Again.
So as of now, pharmacists cannot prescribe under PMART.
Under PMART.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Right. Craziest thing. I think some of the smartest people, biochemists, that it takes a lot to know how all those enzymes work and where the drug needs to work, and
It's
that
a
DNA,
lot.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress.
Those
number
are the
8.
people that are supposed to be finding the cure. But
close to getting a cure.
I we are not close to getting a cure. And it's a difficult one. And I don't think it's a result of lack of effort, if I should put it that way. Like, a lot of research has gone into trying to find a cure. I've worked on, I think first prize was trying to develop a vaccine, a vaccination, which hasn't, of course, worked. And then there's been antibodies, trying to inject antibodies into people, like on a schedule, so that, if they have these antibodies circulating, in their bloodstream, if they do get exposed to HIV, then it would neutralize the infection. Those also haven't worked, but they still. So these were very early phase trials, like your phase 1, phase 2. So they are still, after engaging on a trial like that, the scientists obviously still have to go back to the drawing board and see what they can adjust. What methods, like maybe follow a different pathway of trying to, and it takes long, because the minute you've modified anything, you have to go back to the drawing board, so to speak. So that's why it takes so much time. You have to go back to, testing in animals before you can even attempt to, give it to people. And once you start giving it to people, it's in a small number, just tasting safety first. So, you have to test safety first before you can even think about testing efficacy. So that's why it's taking so long. But I think we and I know where you're probably gonna go. I know where you're probably gonna go.
You might as well just
next.
preempt it. You might as well just preempt it.
People always ask, then why did it happen so fast with COVID, right?
Oh, okay.
Is that not where you were going?
No, I wasn't gonna go.
Oh, okay. No, then go where you're going. We can talk about COVID. We can talk about COVID later.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So we're not close to getting a cure.
We're not close, but a lot of work is being done. I think we are closer than we were maybe 20 years ago. But the closest relative.
Closest relative, right?
Yeah.
I want to feed into the conspiracy theories that I don't think it makes sense getting a cure. And
it makes sense to who?
I don't think it makes sense to big pharma.
Pharmaceutical companies.
And this is very controversial. I mean, I'll probably get a backlash for this. But I'm thinking of it logically. If I am a guy who's a drug dealer, right? And this literally, dude, if you've watched The Wire, I watched The Wire. If you watched The Sopranos, if you watched...
I love The Sopranos.
I haven't watched The Sopranos. I want to watch The Sopranos. It's on my to-do list. So it's The Wire, I watched Snowfall. Snowfall was sick. I enjoyed
Okay, I haven't
Snowfall.
watched that.
You need to watch Snowfall. Hey,
Okay.
yo, snap, Snowfall, crazy. Right?
Okay.
I think you will enjoy Snowfall.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is me promoting Netflix. Guys, subscribe. Not to Netflix, but to this channel down there. Like, share,
Like and
share,
subscribe.
and subscribe. Right? You can watch Snowfall later, but Snowfall's pretty sick. But I think the key focus on drug dealing is the money's in the comeback, right? And that's how businesses work, right? There are a few other things, man, that you can watch on Netflix talking on health and that sort of thing. And I think, yeah, it might be a bit of a conspiracy theory, that sort of thing. However, I feel it's very pertinent, and I think some of it is actually very, very true. Now, before I digress, this is what I'm trying to drive at. If I'm a business person, the money is in the comeback. If I can keep you on chronic medication for 20 or 60 years, 40 years, right? Making X amount, I'm guaranteed for your survival, you need this drug. That means you're going to go to work every morning to go buy this drug to come back and give me, and I make money from it, right? From a money perspective, and this is just me though speaking. This is my own thing. I personally would not do that, and I mean I will not invest more into R&D for a cure. I'll probably invest more to mitigate things like side effects of drugs and that sort of thing. I don't see Aspen doing R&D on HIV therapy. They're mostly generic companies. Same thing with Adcock. Same thing with a lot of all these other companies, right? Very few companies now proactively looking for cures as opposed to things. Because the money really, for me, if I was looking at it, and I don't even blame them from a money perspective, right? Why would I invest in a cure when I have you hooked for the rest of your life?
So yeah, that's a very strong statement to make. Hooked for the rest of your life.
Literally,
But
I mean, can you go without HIV treatment?
like I know there's a lot of conspiracies, but I don't subscribe to
You don't
any
subscribe?
of
No,
those.
it's cool.
I don't subscribe to any of those conspiracies. I know pharmaceutical companies are business. You know, they're in it for
the money.
For they are business people. I mean, there must be a return, you know, on their research and on their investment. However, I do not believe that, you know, like people say that, you know, they are invested in either concealing a cure or like not wanting the public to know that there's a potential cure so that they get returns. I strongly believe that to not be true. Because there's always opportunities, right?
Yeah.
And every business person knows this. So I don't think keeping 20 million odd people on ART, for example, for the return on investment, you know, is something that, you know, they are hiding behind closed doors, trying to suppress. To me, it doesn't add up, because if, for example, there is a cure, there is an opportunity for companies to leverage off of that. So if a cure is found, the 20 million people that are currently infected with HIV are not miraculously, you know, going to fall off treatment, for example. And once a cure is found, then with the vaccinations, etc., there's always innovation that comes with it. So there's always potential for these big pharmas to jump on innovation. So, for example, when HIV treatment started, there were almost eight drugs. Like, people were taking concoctions of almost close to 8 drugs. With further innovation, you know, then it came down to 3 drugs and maybe one that you have to take twice a day. Now you have a 3-in-1 combination.
Okay.
Now, you know, there's injectables.
Yeah.
You know, there's injectables.
This once a month thing.
Yeah, like every 2 months.
Or 2 months,
And now, you know, they're researching a depot injection for every 6 months. So with everything that comes, you know, with research and with innovation, I don't think people would suppress a cure because they fear that they will not get their return on investment. And I'd like to believe that, you know, we don't have some underground power that's controlling all of us, making us slaves to HIV so that they benefit. I think legislation protects us against that. I'd like to believe in, the
No, what?
in humankind.
You've got so much
That-
belief in humanity, bro.
in humanity. Yeah.
Oh, snap. What did I just snap there? Sorry. But anyway, cool. I just trying to fix your mic. But anyway,
Okay.
keep going, yeah? We'll
Yeah.
pick that up later, yeah? Mhm.
Yeah, so I just think that I don't think, change is inevitable.
Change is inevitable.
So a cure is exactly that, it's change. So I don't think people would be in business to suppress anything. The fact that they've gotten that far is testament to the fact that they can adapt with whatever new comes onto the market.
Cool. Give me another number. Now we're gonna go blow through this, right? I think we'll give it a good 7 minutes. 1 minute per question.
17. Let's do
17. Let's go 17. What do we have at 17? 17. We are. What are some of the side effects of PrEP and PEP therapy, and what drugs are used for PrEP and PEP?
Okay, yeah.
That's an easy one for you.
That's an easy one. So side effects. So the same ARVs are used for PrEP, PEP,
Yeah.
and ART. It's just that with PrEP you use 2 drugs
Yeah.
instead of the 3 drugs for
With
treatment.
what? With PrEP.
With PrEP,
You use 2 drugs.
you use 2 drugs. You use a
Okay.
2-drug combination. But with PEP, the PEP drugs and the treatment drug is the same. There's a 3 combination.
Okay.
3-in-1 combination.
Putting it simply, yeah. Okay.
Putting it simply. So the side effects are common across the board. It's as you start, it's your nausea, your headaches, your stomach upset. You might experience a rash. So it's
Just put a
more.
pause in there.
Yeah.
This sounds like this is an oral exam. You had this one memorized.
No, but
I'm
like
joking.
it's
Keep going.
the basic things you say to patients. Those are your normal side
Those are your
effects.
normal side
Yeah,
effects.
so it's basically your system. However
But did you say that? But did you say that in an oral exam? It's cool.
Probably. I probably
Nausea,
did.
vomiting, gastric side
Yeah,
effects.
NVD. Nausea, vomiting, diarrhea.
You're guaranteed to get at least 3 marks there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's more or less the common ones.
Yeah.
And then obviously they take blood tests just to investigate your kidney function.
Yeah.
So one of the
Kidney function.
drugs,
Okay.
tenofovir, may possibly damage your kidneys. Not to say that everyone's kidneys are now going to get damaged. No, there's it may impair kidney function in some people. So depending on how old you are, for example, or whether you have other conditions like diabetes or blood pressure, they monitor your kidney function, and if anything out of the ordinary happens and they see a decline, then they would switch the drug to something else. Yeah, so those are your main side effects, your big ones. Yeah.
Okay. So it's tenofovir, the PrEP. It's tenofovir, emtricitabine, or lamivudine. That's your PEP. PrEP, right?
Yeah.
And PrEP will be therapy.
Yeah, PEP and ART is first-line therapy.
First-line therapy.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Yes.
More or less the same.
Okay, 25.
25. Let's go to 25. How many pharmacies are in South Africa?
Oh,
snap.
wow. As of my last...
Bet you went through this. You
I have an
Googled.
Excel spreadsheet.
Oh, really? Yeah, I figured because you do research with pharmacists. Yeah.
Like if you pay Pharmacy Council 5,000 Rand, they can give you...
Really?
They can give you the list of
Oh, you
pharmacies.
pay them?
Yeah.
For that info?
Yeah, you have to pay them. Yeah.
No, but
unfortunately,
isn't that public knowledge, though?
You have to pay them.
Wow, I thought that's public knowledge.
It's work, I guess, for them to compile it for you. But yeah, from what that was last year, or was it 2 years ago?
Yeah.
It was 2 years ago. There were about 3,580. So
There were 3,000
3,580.
for a population of 60 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the 3,500. Let's use 3,500, right? I mean, tricky, but keep going. So 3,500. Let's say
In the
3,600.
country,
3,600.
It's probably higher now. Maybe you're probably now at like 3/8, but like
Okay, 60 million divided by let's give a number 4,000. 4,000 because there are people who are entrepreneurial out there. So for every 15,000 people in South Africa, they have access to one pharmacy, right? By the looks of things, right? Access service to one pharmacy.
Yeah.
Is that enough?
I think it's enough. I mean, because of, now we have corporate pharmacies, so we have a lot more pharmacies than we used to. So it is enough. I think the only challenge is a lot of them are located in your metros, in your big cities.
Okay.
So it's not as evenly distributed,
Yeah.
like for the population as you'd like. So if you roughly say 15,000, it might be higher in your more rural populations, like let's say like your rural area, like if you go deep into the Eastern Cape or you go into the Northern Cape, it's probably higher because we won't have as many pharmacies there, as opposed to Joburg. Everywhere you turn,
There's a pharmacy. Yeah, we're not going to promote them because they're not supporting this podcast just yet. When they start financing and they become supporters. Support.
Yeah.
Choose another.
What number does it go up to again?
42.
42. 38.
38. Dude, I wish you chose. Actually, it goes up to number 44. But anyway, 38.
Okay, we can do 44 next.
Oh, we do 44 next. Okay, cool. How comfortable are patients with pharmacists prescribing PrEP? That's far.
Wow. So they are pretty comfortable. I think at this stage, we haven't done enough research on it. But I think the majority are comfortable in it and receiving, because, and I mean, I guess I'm basing it on people requesting the services from pharmacists to say, but why can't you just give it to me? Why can't you just prescribe it for me? Okay. So basing it off of that, I think there's a fair level of comfort.
Comfortability.
Yeah.
Okay, can't crunch up the numbers yet, but you get an idea. Okay, cool. Got that. Give me another. There's one that I wanted to ask you, but...
Okay, no.
No, it's there. It's because I want you to choose it. Give me a number. You said 44.
Yeah, 44.
Right. Okay, we'll try to keep it short now, and then we'll summarize it. Right. We need to come to the end of this show. Right. 44. How can the reach of pharmacies in expanding PrEP access and the role of legislation such as PMART in ending the HIV epidemic? What are the projections? What are the numbers? What are we targeting? And are we well on course? Is more or less what I'm asking is, does PrEP work?
Yeah, so PrEP works if you take it.
Like
just like condoms work if you use them. PrEP works if you take it.
What are the numbers?
It has a high efficacy. So if you take it, so oral PrEP, that's one tablet once a day, it has at least 95% efficacy.
95%? Of working.
Yeah.
Is it 5% in my... Not. Yeah, I want to know.
Well, yeah.
I'm sure they want to know.
That 5% is due to different reasons.
Okay, like?
Yeah. So adherence is one of them. It's hard to stick to a pill a day. But I mean, in those that do take it, then I think it should be nearing 99%. But in the 95%, it's challenges with sticking to a pill a day. And yeah, I just went blank. But I'm trying to think of the other reasons why that 5%.
Adherence.
Yeah. But adherence is
side effects. Side effects might compel someone to take them.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So adherence, and my issue is just that is that 5%. But I'll come back and I'll circle around that. More importantly, I always ask this: will you use PrEP?
Would I use PrEP?
Yeah. I always find it funny when someone repeats the question because it gives them time to think. Like, will I use PrEP? This is putting you on the spot, right? Would you use PrEP?
I think I would use PrEP.
You think you would
I
use
haven't used PrEP, but I think I would use PrEP. I think working with PrEP has also educated me, we almost think we're invincible. I think that's the problem with HIV. It can't happen to me, or we almost want to be in a situation where, like we're saying, like prevention is better than cure. Yeah. You want to find yourself in the situation as opposed to actually doing something proactively to prevent it. So I think if I was if I was engaged, if I was having sex.
Now you're telling us your whole private life, but keep going. We want to know.
If I was having risky sex, I would.
Are you having safe? Okay, but
if I was having unsafe, where I felt like I needed to pray. And I think it's important for women, especially, because there are instances whereby maybe someone is in a relationship and they don't have the power to negotiate condom usage, for example, or it's even if it's a partner or if it's a husband, and you feel like you suspect that you may be at risk, then I think it's something very empowering, to know that there's something that I can use that I can protect myself, irregardless. So I would take PrEP.
You would take PrEP
if I felt at risk.
after going through that whole. I will take PrEP. Okay, cool. Give me another number.
7.
7. I think you did 7 already, but anyway, let's see. How much does the SA government and the globe spend on HIV therapy? You didn't do that.
Didn't we talk about it? Okay, we're talking about the price of treatment.
But I don't know if you know, like, how much we spend.
I don't know the figures off the top of my head, but I know it's, if you do the maths, if we have like 6 million people on treatment, then it's a lot of money per year. It's billions spent.
I'm just going to go through the remaining series of questions, right? I want us to round up. Okay. I really enjoyed having you here. Thank you for coming. In case I forgot to say thank you.
Thank you. This has been,
It's been Dude, you're supposed to say it's been, I know you're supposed to.
It's been amazing.
Wow, listen to you.
No, it's been amazing. It's good to have such conversations. Yeah.
My question is, do you think we can eradicate HIV?
We can there's a lot, at the beginning we talked a lot about the, socio-economic, political. So I think there's a lot of angles that need to be covered to eradicate HIV. It's not the health system's problem. It's the social system. It's the political system. It's taking everything in the setting into account. Mm-hmm. So it's a difficult one. I'd like to believe, the optimist in me likes to believe we could, but the realist is sort of thinks there's a lot of work, and just because we struggle with a lot of other things, because whenever you need everyone to come on board to solve something, it's difficult. Mm-hmm. So that collaborative effort, getting everyone on the same page, because people end up pulling in different directions is what makes it so difficult. But in
your lifetime,
we serve a living God, so
that's a good thing.
I put it back to my faith.
Okay.
Leave science alone, leave politics alone.
In your lifetime, you think it can be done?
In my lifetime, late in my lifetime.
Late in your lifetime.
Yeah.
When do you start PEP and when do you start PrEP? And please answer that.
Okay, so PrEP, the recommendation is to start it 7 days before your anticipated encounter, before your engagement. And PEP, you have to take it within 72 hours. Of getting exposed. So I think your next question was why the difference between, and I think we spoke a lot about how the drugs act. So with prevention, this is not an emergency. Mm-hmm. You're giving you're taking the drugs and giving them time to reach a concentration in your system whereby they can protect you, such that if the virus enters, that concentration is high enough to block it from replicating immediately. So 7 days is a guide. That's the standard that the guidelines recommend. Of course, it could work faster than that, but I think and there's also a difference in time between how fast that happens in males versus females.
Oh, really?
But
okay.
So it's faster in males than in females. Biologically, there's different reasons why. But to standardize it, we work with 7 days so that, we're on the safe side, because this is not an emergency.
Okay.
With post-exposure, now you've been exposed, you have 72 hours. So remember, we have the 3 drugs that, we are throwing 3 drugs at this virus so that we prevent it from establishing an infection. But 72 hours is not to say have sex today and then wait 3 days later and, go get the drug. No, the recommendation is as soon as immediately possible. So you have your 72-hour window whereby after 72 hours, we can still say, you can still take it and, the chances are still high that you will prevent the infection. But the sooner you take it, the higher the chances are that you will not get infected. Okay. So the recommendation is 72 hours, but it's not to say wait as soon as possible within exposure.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Will it work after 72 hours?
Evidence says it will not.
It will not. No.
It will. I mean, there could be those outliers or different cases where it has worked. But the general evidence is no, it will, and practitioners will not recommend. Because the chances are that the infection has probably established already. Really? Yeah.
Because I read something. Well, I thought I read something that it's 72 hours, but the chances of plumate further than that, and the guarantee cannot. You can't give me. Yeah. You can't come and say 95%.
Yeah.
Comparing PEP and PrEP, right? What are the success rates? Are they similar? Is it still 95% of both, or it's 99?
I think
want to get to 99. Yeah.
I think it's still pretty high with PEP as well.
Yeah.
It will be. It's a very high efficacy. Yeah. I think a lot of people that there's very, very low. Very few cases, should I say, of people who have taken PEP and seroconverted. So I think it's still very high. It's in the 90s. I'm sorry, I don't have a figure. Yeah. But it's high efficacy.
It's high. Yeah. Good call.
Yeah.
Then let's see. Does circumcision help in the transmission of HIV, and how?
Yes. So there was a drive. I can't remember now when. For circumcision, as I think from Department of Health, promoting circumcision as a way to prevent yourself from, men, from helping the cause of preventing the spread of HIV. So with circumcision, we get rid of the foreskin, right? And when the foreskin is present, it gives an environment, should I say, for viruses, for bacteria. It makes it easier for them, like to. And then the English just went. It provides a more conducive environment, basically, for infections to take hold. So that foreskin environment, then there'll be bacteria. The virus can start, infecting the cells. So it's just removing that layer in which you can harbor bacteria and viral infections. So it's a biological thing, I guess. It's a physical thing. It's hard to think of a foreskin and then cells, because at cellular level, that's very small, right? Yeah, but research has proven that once you remove the foreskin, you remove the chances of bacteria and viruses gathering, so to speak, in that foreskin.
The way I looked at it,
and establishing an infection.
The way I looked at it, I found it to be rather more theoretic than practical, because they could not do research on circumcised individuals. I mean, you cannot go and say, okay, guys, go ahead, go have coitus. Go have coitus. And this group doesn't have coitus. I mean, this group is circumcised, this group is not circumcised. Go ahead, let's see who gets HIV. I think it's unethical to do that. But anyway, the reason I asked that is because there was that drive, and I sort of disagreed with that. Not necessarily disagreed with that research. In part, I disagree. Oh, sorry. In part, I disagree. But I mean, I understand where they're coming from. I disagree in the sense that you're still going to get HIV if you're having, or you're promiscuous and you're having unprotected sex, whether you are circumcised or not circumcised. Yeah. That was my first point. You can respond to that. But just give me a point.
Okay.
Just give me a moment. I just want to conclude that. But when I eventually did the research, I found out that the cells putting it simply for the people out there, right? The cells within that foreskin, I'm subject to correction, guys. Don't take me, you mustn't take my word for it. But the cells around that foreskin are more or less the type of cells that the HIV virus loves, and I think it proliferates quite rapidly. Also, it's basically the cells in that area. It's cells in the pancreas and around the pancreas. Those are the cells where it likes to think. I'm subject to correction, right? But and so when you're removing that, you're going to decrease the chance. I found the research to be, in a sense, more hypothetical than it being things. So I don't know. I would like to find out if they actually went out and did trials, because that sounds.
I mean, I'm sure there are studies that went into this, because Department of Health will never go on a campaign without doing the research. So there surely are studies that have shown that it reduces the risk. So that's what I wanted to say in response when you said you will get HIV anyway. I think it's all about risk.
Yeah, the risk.
Mitigating
the risk.
Yeah, so it's mitigating the risk. You can't say you're going to circumcise and then go and have sex and you won't get HIV. No.
Yeah.
But we always talk about decreasing your risk. So what are the chances that, out of 10 or whatever, that you are likely to get infected when you have this versus when you have that? So that's what we deal with in research. We talk about risk and reducing that risk and what increases that risk. Yeah, so
I mean, a 5 out of 10 and a 4 out of 10.
I mean,
6
you
out
want
of 10, 5 out of 10.
you want to increase your odds, right? Of not. You're not saying it's you want to. You're not saying it's your risk is eliminated, but you want to increase the chances of you not getting that infection.
What do you think is the contributing factor to? You said, well, the transmission is decreasing, which is a positive, but when it was growing up, and I mean, we have not reached zero levels, or we're not close to zero levels, right? What do you think has contributed to HIV spread and society, politics, economy? If you just give me like 2, 3 short pa.
I don't know if it can be short, papa.
And then you can tell me if you support the Box or the All Blacks. But keep going.
Can I answer that one first?
Okay, go.
I support the Box.
Go
no
Box.
brainer.
Wow. I'm All Blacks. But anyway, keep going before I get cancelled.
To try and summarize it, like I mentioned earlier, the healthcare system, it has to be conducive for health-seeking behavior. It has to be supportive of that. That's more treatment, right? That's more treatment, not preventative. Yeah, no, it's also a part of prevention, because testing, if you're going for regular testing, that's the thing. If you're seeking methods of prevention, if you're seeking health education, then you know how to protect yourself from getting infected. So, and treatment also comes into play with, remember we spoke about if you're on treatment, then you can't transmit. Yeah. So if we have all those that are infected on treatment, then we should theoretically lower our infection rates, because they can't transmit it to the next person. Okay. So healthcare, society as well plays a role in it, because I mean, with sex comes a lot of things. I mean, there's the blesser pandemic, and young girl. No, I don't have a blesser. Young girls and women are highest risk of HIV, and there's a lot that goes into that. Relationships with older men, where financially they get financial benefits from that, so they're at higher risk, and women at higher risk of acquiring HIV, by the way, than men. So there's a lot there that's driving the infection rates. I'm on number 3. Yeah, I'm trying to politics, economics, and political will. I think political will to addressing. Yeah.
By the way, I believe in PrEP. I believe it's a very great initiative. I think it's one thing that will stop the spread and the transmission, provided everyone jumps on it.
I think it's empowering.
It's empowering to it's an option that we do not have now. It's like it's a Sony Ericsson when all I had was a Samsung or whatever, and it gives me an option. So I really do think I appreciate that, and the people who come up with such strategies. I didn't want to talk about who you work for and whatever. I don't want to talk about those.
No,
because in case I put Pornhub, your career ends. But yeah, those options are brilliant, and kudos to the people who fund that. I really do believe we need that power to be able to choose what's right, to choose for yourself in a sense, right? Although in the same context, I feel that we as human beings don't know what's right for us. Sometimes, well, not even sometimes, most of the time, we can only make choices on what's in front of us.
True.
So now we are only choosing what we've been. Urbanization has put a cage, given us a box, and then he says, okay, choose from the box.
Yeah.
But there's a world beyond that. Yeah. There's a world of healthy lifestyle, of living in a farm area with fresh air, with the breeze and that sort of thing. But now here, I can only buy food from Pick and Pay, Spar, Checkers, ShopRite.
But the thing is also, we may not always know what's right for us, but once we do know, we should do better.
I've heard.
Yeah. Once we do know, then there's no excuse.
Yeah, teaching, that education. But anyway, cool, bro. Dude, I appreciate you pulling through.
Thank
I don't
you.
like the fact that you like the bokeh. I'm joking, man. Actually, I love, well, you know what?
Which country are you in?
Dude, before I get cancelled out here. Right?
I don't even understand how this is even
no, man, I've always
conversation.
Funny, I started supporting the All Blacks because of Jonah Lomu. Loved it. He's a beast of a rugby player, man. Oof, man.
I don't know rugby, but I remember Jonah Lomu in the haka.
In the haka, yo, dude, that thing is crazy. So I think that's when I started, and the love never slipped. I think I've had a lot of. I love a lot. Some of my friends played for the Springboks. Right, and I love
friends that play for the Springboks.
Tondrai Chavanga. Well, he was my friend then. I don't know now because I haven't seen him in years. He's probably last I heard he was. I went to high school with him. Oh, right. Went to high school with him, and he's a great rugby player. So, so Tonde, but he only had a few appearances. Didn't have as many. Okay. But I've always I love the players. All right. I love the players. I love the Bokke players. I just loved the All Blacks. It's got nothing to do with anything. I like Manchester United. I hope I don't get cancelled for this. Right. But the rugby is great. The rugby is great. But dude, thanks for shaping up. I hope the podcast comes out all right. All the technical glitches we had. Because if not, I'm bringing you back.
Yeah, let's do this again.
We need to do this again. I actually enjoy this.
Yeah,
I enjoy this conversation. Right.
Yeah, I hope others do as well. I hope we just not.
Like, we'll be cancelled very soon. I told you, I just put Pornhub there. We get so many views.
No.
Right. Hey, they'll associate you.
No, we're not doing that.
Look, actually, my friends will kill me for this, but let me not do it. Let me keep quiet.
Please no.
I've got a man that does this. Right. I was going to say something or do something, but we won't. But I really appreciate it and thank you for your time, bro. Like, I really appreciate it. And you're doing some great work. Like, I really do. I kid you not. I really do believe in that PrEP initiative. So the people who are funding it, kudos to them. I really mean that sincerely. I think those are the things we need, right? And I think that will take us places. Yeah. Anyway, be that as it may, guys, like, share, subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Please tell them to like, share, subscribe. You're the pretty one of them too.
Like, share, and subscribe.
And tell a friend to tell a friend. We need views out here, bro. This thing needs to blow up. But guys, it's Uranium, the Black Russian, man. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and much appreciated. Hope to see you guys in the next episode, next installment. We'll tell you what it's about. And yeah, take it from there. Stay tuned, guys, and
comment and good comments. Yeah,
good comments. Get the ugly ones out, bro. Get the ugly ones out. Let them be pretty comments. Yeah, that's good comments. Yeah, good comments. And yeah, man. You said you're looking for a blesser, no? No, I'm joking. I'm
not looking for a blesser. No.
In case they want to comment, right? They can comment on a blesser.
Please, no.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Okay, no, if you're saying so, it's okay. It's all right, man. There's nothing wrong with having a blessing.
No, I don't need a blessing.
You don't need a blessing. Okay.
God is my blessing.
God is your blessing. Oh, nice. Put it here. I was going to put Tsitsi needs a blessing.
No.
Like,
I'm good.
But nah, cool, man. But I appreciate you, bro. And yeah, kudos to you, man. Thanks a lot once more. I think I'm being redundant now. But safe travels and until next time, guys.
Bye.
Bye.